As of recording, it's been 111 days since CS2 was spontaneously released to us on September 27th of last year. Since then, it's been a tumultuous time within the Counter-Strike community. The transition from CSGO to CS2 was by no means clean and painless. We've gone through many bug fixes, changes, patches, and all the while, much of the content we enjoyed in CSGO was spontaneously stripped away and has yet to return as of the release of this video. On top of that, no new content was released with the launch of CS2, as it seemed to just transition from beta to live seemingly out of nowhere, to the surprise of basically everybody, myself included. On top of the 111 days since CS2 was launched, it's also been over 2 years since the last operation was released into CSGO, meaning that we're right in the middle of a significant, but not uncommon, content drought for the game. And as we look ahead into 2024, the biggest question at the forefront of most people's minds is when are we going to get something new added to CS2? And I do think Valve are running out of time. The game cannot continue as it is without some substantial changes and additions, and Valve need to act fast, or they're going to risk losing further player confidence and retention as the days go by. So today, we're going to talk about that, as well as the most high priority changes Valve should be looking to make going into the new year. My name is LionHeartZ. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you take a second, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Most of you watch these videos are not subscribed and helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. And make sure you check me out on Twitch, streaming every night, Counter-Strike 2. We are live at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337, linked in the description down below. Come check me out, and let's get into the video. Now, by far, the biggest problem that Valve are facing with CS2 right now is that there's not just one problem. The way I see it, there are 3 major issues with the current state of the game. There is a lack of new content with the release, there are problems with the core content that we currently have, and there's all the missing content from CSGO that is no longer accessible. All 3 of these are major issues, but all 3 of them can't be handled at the same time. Now, the most important thing to me off the rip are the issues with the core game, what we have right now. Because at the end of the day, while I like all the alternate modes like Danger Zone, Scout Knives, and all that stuff, Counter-Strike is purely centered around its competitive experience. That's what people put thousands of hours into, and that's what needs to be the sharpest, the cleanest, the most effective part of Counter-Strike for the game to compete, succeed, and thrive. So if the competitive experience has core issues, that needs the highest priority to be fixed, in my opinion. The first thing at the front end, in my opinion, is that the competitive playlist has failed. Premier, I think, is perfectly functional. The rule set works, the map pick ban stuff is nice, the actual core rules of the game mode for Premier, they all work. The ladder experience is fine. Some of the gaining and losing ranked points is a little wonky, but those are easy fixes in my opinion. The core gameplay experience around Premier is perfectly fine. However, competitive is a dumpster fire. I'm sure you guys have seen the stats flowing around on Twitter and on Reddit that there aren't any global elite players in the world in CS2. And I don't know if you guys know anything about CSGO, that wasn't the case. There were a fair amount of global players. Right now, the competitive grind is so broken that nobody is able to reach global elite on any map. And that is a huge, glaring flaw, because what that leads to is congestion at the lower ranks. If you load up competitive right now and you're unranked, like most of you probably are, you're rolling a giant matchmaking slot machine. Am I going to have players who just installed the game, are gods, are hacking, are Russian? Who knows? Every time you play competitive right now, it's a total roll of the dice, and on top of that, you need an absurd amount of playtime just to get ranked on more than 1, 2, or 3 maps. The 10-win entry is so bad for people actually getting ranked and starting to distribute to their proper skill pools that it's made the playlist essentially unplayable. If you're looking for a competitive experience where you're going to play players roughly at your skill level, you're just going to go play Premier or Face It. And I've made an entire video about this distinction between competitive and Premier, so I won't harp on it too much longer. But the competitive playlist basically needs to be retooled, and that should be like one of the first major projects that the CS2 devs are looking at. I'd be surprised if they aren't, because the feedback about this is ubiquitous. Our next core issue is that the map pool, I think, needs some work. There are core maps right now that I feel like are just not great, and they ruin or are unpickable in places like Premier or competitive. The new Inferno is unfortunately, I think, a failure. And that really saddens me, as I'm an Inferno enthusiast. I've said it before, I've said it in other videos, Inferno is my favorite map in gaming, and what they've done in CS2 has made Inferno, unfortunately, a permaban for a lot of people, myself included, because the changes make the T side so unenjoyable. You're taking so much utility damage from these narrow-ass hallways that CTs get a lot of map control for free. It makes the map suffocating. It feels like what Nuke used to feel like back in the day. And it just needs work. It needs help. Inferno is just not working right now. You got on top of that, maps like Mirage are just old. They haven't had any significant changes in many, many years, and they're just overplayed. A lot of people just default to Mirage because it's pretty much the only thing left that's like Dust 2, but Mirage has a lot of core issues too. The B site is terrible. It's hard, it's annoying to defend, it's annoying to take, so most people just default around mid or A, leaving one half of the map almost completely unplayed. And then you have a lot of players who are refusing to pick up the new maps like Ancient, Anubis, and Vertigo because they don't want to have to learn something new after all these years. There's just a lot of problems with the current map pool that I think could be changed by bringing back some old faithfuls. A train overhaul, or a seasons, or a cache could be a great way to freshen up the meta and shake it up for the first time in many years. Lastly, and if you're a fan of the channel, you knew I was going to go here, and that's the current state of the economy. The economy needs work. We're in a decidedly T-sided meta. Ts get economic advantage pretty much for free in this game, and playing the CT side is a miserable experience outside of the really hard CT-sided maps like Overpass and Inferno. It's just things are too expensive, there's not enough money to go around, and you're just scrapping for full buys. It is so hard to win your CT halves unless you are dominating. And that's a big problem for economic parity, and it needs to be looked at. I'm not the first person to say this, I'll continue to say it every time it comes up, but Valve, please, can we take a look at the economy? And all of those problems, like I said, are just core gameplay issues before we even get into the necessity of new content or bringing back the content from CSGO. So which way do you go, right? Because most people would say, well, we need to get back to where CSGO was at least before we start thinking about new stuff. But the problem is that new content drives player retention. People love seeing new cases, new operations, the pick'em challenge coins for majors. All those things drive player retention and keep the player numbers high. So I understand that Valve kind of probably want to do both. They want to release new content and bring back the stuff from CSGO, but how much are they going to be able to realize that? Because we only have a month and a half until the first major for CS2, and if we get to the first major and there's been no significant content updates since the launch of CS2, I think that's going to leave a very big sour taste in a lot of players' mouths. Who's going to want to spend the money on pick'ems, stickers, pay attention to the major, when the game hasn't gotten any attention in what would have been at that point 5, almost 6 months since the release of the game? I think the biggest problem looking back is that, frankly, CS2 came out too soon. We've spent the last however long, 111 days, basically just trying to get to a stable working product. Compare the current state of the game to when it launched. The bugginess, the issues with hit reg, netcode, interp, the movement was so much worse. The weapon switch lag, grenade lag. All of these issues Valve have been working tirelessly to fix, and to their credit, the amount of bug fixes, changes, adjustments, map fixes over the last 111 days is something to be appreciated. Valve have done so much more than most devs would have done in terms of frequent and constant updates to fix these issues as they were discovered and as they were fixed. And that is commendable. I'm never going to take away the effort the devs have put in to get us to a very stable working product that we currently have. The core gameplay for CS2 right now is great. It works as intended. There are a few issues, especially with stuff like the op, maybe check out that video linked above, but the core gameplay works, and that's great. And with the changes inherent to CS2, the mechanic updates, all the stuff that they did under the hood with Source 2, great stuff. We have a great base here, but now we need more. We can't just rest on our laurels here and continue to wait. And unfortunately, Valve has a habit of just waiting and waiting and waiting. But we need to bring CS2 into the modern era. You know, games that rhyme with Cramorant, developed by Schmriat Games, they do a good job of constantly bringing new content to the table. Even if that content is just skins, but having stuff like seasonal events, battle passes. And listen, I don't necessarily want a battle pass for CS2, but bringing other reasons to play the game besides grinding competitive over and over is one of the best ways to keep the game fresh. and CS2 needs to adapt to the modern state of live service games in some way. And I think operations can be retooled to make that happen. Maybe a good topic for another video. However, we need something. If Valve plans to wait to the major, I think that is a massive mistake. We need something new for CS2, and we need it badly, but I don't know what that's going to look like and when we're going to get it. But hey, that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the current state of Counter-Strike 2 in the comments down below. What do you think Valve should be doing first? Is it fix the core game? Is it bring back all the stuff from CSGO? Or is it develop something new? Let me know and I'll be responding to the comments down below. Make sure you catch me on Twitch later tonight, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, over on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337, linked in the description down below. Like, sub, comment, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for all the support recently. It's been massive. Let's keep going into 2024. I'm feeling great. Let's do it. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.